If you haven't heard yet, yesterday the Athens Clarke County Police issued an arrest warrant for former Georgia defensive lineman and possible #1 overall pick Jalen Carter on reckless driving and racing against the Ford Expedition that crashed, killing Chandler LaCroix and Georgia offensive lineman Devin Willock. Now, Jalen was at the NFL Combine only hours away from speaking to the media when this news came out. Now, I thought on this for a long time last night because it's a terrible situation. And it's a tragic situation that was totally avoidable. Was it a horrible decision by Jalen Carter if he indeed did race that car? Without a doubt. Was it another terrible decision to allegedly lie to police about where he was during the crash? Yes, it was. Should he face some sort of discipline if that is in fact how things went down? I believe so. But the truth is, and it's cold hard truth, that the responsibility lies on the driver of that crashed vehicle, God rest her soul. Now, a toxicology report showed she was over twice the legal limit of alcohol concentration in the blood to be able to drive, and allegedly hit speeds over 100 miles per hour, which resulted in the fatal accident. Jalen Carter should not have his career ruined over this. He shouldn't totally fall off draft boards like Laramie Tunsil, but he also isn't totally clean. But he also isn't the sole blame bearer. He does have to learn a lesson, though. Regardless of how big, fast, or good at football you are, nobody is immortal. It's something he should already know by now. And if these reports are factual, then apparently he still has a lot of growing up to do. The main thing is 2 young people lost their lives over a horrible split-second decision in a situation none of them ever should have been in. Now, God bless all the families involved. It's horrible. And for young people out there, let this be a painful lesson. Life is not a race, nor is it a game. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, former Western State Colorado wide receiver, my brother as well. Guys, it's an awful situation. I'm not going to sit here and compare this to the Brandon Miller situation like people did on Twitter because it's apples and oranges. That it's a totally different circumstance. Jalen Carter made a couple bad decisions in this.
Yeah.
All right. The Dumas Johnson kid who also plays for Georgia, they said it was a third car. There's no warrant out for his arrest, but he's been ticketed for racing before. So it looks like it may have been 3 cars that were involved in this race, are in racing and being reckless like this. And if there's misdemeanor charges, he should pay the price for that. But ultimately, like I said, Jalen Carter is not to blame for these deaths, in my opinion. There was one person driving that car. One person made the decision to hit that gas pedal down. One person made the decision to race not only a car, but a car that they shouldn't have been driving.
A little more update here. Jail records show that Jalen Carter turned himself in at the Athens Clarke County Jail last night at 11:33 p.m. and was released shortly after posting bond. The warrants charge Carter with reckless driving and racing, both misdemeanor offenses in Georgia, and it's unclear if he will face any additional charges at this time. What I find interesting here is that this is post his Georgia career, right? So the university really has nothing else to do at this point with Jalen Carter when it comes to any disciplinary action. But it's pre his NFL career. I mean, we're in this tight window here where he's trying to get drafted here in a month, you know? So will there be sort of any discipline from the NFL if he is still like serving any penalty once he's drafted? That's interesting. Usually the precedent for the NFL is anything that has happened to you prior to your entry into the league, you can't be disciplined by the league. Take someone like Joe Mixon, a situation like that happened in college. I think that's probably what'll happen here. I've heard reports that there may be, community service and certain number of hours served, something like 1,000 hours, something like that. I don't know. Could this escalate into like a manslaughter charge, though? I don't know. I don't know what the details are of exactly what he did when he was behind the wheel.
Yeah, again, unless, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but unless they can prove like he swerved or something and caused them to crash, I don't know how this would get above a misdemeanor. What I would like to see, and it doesn't totally rectify the situation, but if Jalen Carter would use this to maybe go on a speaking tour to high schools and talk to teams, use it to jumpstart something, maybe a foundation or something like that. You can put Devin Willock's name on. I know there's probably already one that started, but use it as a teachable moment to not only athletes, but just the youth in general, just kids in general. Because again, you look at this situation and you look at other situations where high-profile people that are about to make life-changing money, that put in all this work, that may have came from bad backgrounds or good backgrounds, you get close to achieving your goal, and you put it all on the line for something as stupid as racing down a street. Like, it just, to me, if I'm an NFL team and I'm looking at this, obviously the first thing you do is question his decision making. How mature is this guy? Is this guy just a big child? And is he somebody that's going to put the organization in harm's way? Or is he going to use this, as painful as it is, to be a lesson and a springboard into the mature man that he needs to be to not only be an NFL player, but a possible #1 pick? Yeah. I mean, you become the face of an organization, and the timing of it, as we kind of talked about a little bit yesterday when we were talking about setting the show, you talk about 5 hours before you're about to address the media at the NFL Combine. I mean, that's about as tight as it gets.
Well, think about me. Let's go look at his career at Georgia. I mean, has Jalen Carter been in a lot of trouble? I don't think so. No, not as much as other guys. People make mistakes, but I think this is going to affect him at all when it comes to the NFL draft. Not one bit. This will be
not one bit.
Not one bit. This will be a misdemeanor charge. I don't think it's going to upgrade from that. Whatever he does, community service. So one thing what people I think want Jalen Carter to do is just have some accountability. Just come out, admit it's your fault, admit you're wrong, and you're going to work on being a better person, making better decisions. But if I'm an NFL scout, I'm an NFL GM, you get this, but I like looking at long periods of time of how you acted. And not a lot of problems coming out of Georgia. I think he's a top 5 pick, #1 if you're the Bears, unless they trade it away. But I do not think, especially with the NFL, with the guys they have still running around on the field, no, this is not, Jalen Carter's not going to slip.
Do you mean your fault is in admitting, like, hey, yeah, I was there or I wasn't away from? Because again, like, it's not Jalen. Jalen Carter didn't kill anybody. Let's go ahead and get this straight. I mean, the person driving the car is responsible for what happens in the car, unless they can prove that somehow Jalen Carter swerved over and they were going to hit all the cars or whatever, which I don't think that's the case. But the part to me that looks the worst on Jalen Carter is not being truthful, allegedly, with authorities when they asked him the first time, were you there? What happened? Instead of being like, listen, we were right, because they didn't find any alcohol in his system. Like, I don't believe Jalen Carter was under the influence at all. I don't even know if he drank. Obviously, the other young lady was twice over the legal limit. I don't know about the third car in exactly that situation. But again, comparing this situation to the Brandon Miller situation, I don't think it's even close, and I saw that all over Twitter. I think we got to take it instance by instance.
You were seeing that all over Twitter?
All over Twitter. Be like, oh, well, see, because I basically put out there, hey, look, Jalen Carter, this is a bad look. It's a terrible, tragic situation, but this isn't something that should ruin his career. And people are like, oh, well, you want Brandon Miller's career to be ruined? No, like, first off, no. We said he should have suspended him at the beginning.
These people are just impossible.
Yeah, they're impossible because it's your team. It's your fanatic. No, it's not an excuse.
I don't care.
You're right.
We got to stop with
It's a sickness,
man. It's
to me.
unbelievable. I don't think Jalen Carter will be the #1 pick anymore, though. I agree with you that I don't think it'll affect his draft status or his NFL career long term. I still think he'll be a #10 pick. And I really hate it not only for him and for the families involved, but also for some of these organizations who are trying to make a push to draft a top talent like him, because that organization then needs to explain why you're taking this, this kid. I agree with Jake that his maturity moving forward will be the determining factor of what kind of man he becomes and what kind of employee essentially he is for a franchise. But when you say it won't be affected one little bit, I think some organizations are saying, you know what, we could trade this many picks and like move up into the first spot, or we could move back. I don't think Jalen Carter will be the #1 pick anymore, which he wasn't a lock to be in the first place.
True.
But
if the Bears have the #1 pick, they're not taking Jalen?
I think now you're in a situation where if you were already on the fence on whether or not you should take Jalen Carter or Will Anderson Jr. because you're going to go the defensive line route, I think this makes your decision a little easier.
Yeah,
top 5 pick?
I think so.
Well, yeah, again, I think the Bears would have been stupid to draft Jalen Carter #1 overall either way. Because again, and I'm not in that room, if you are like you're saying, David, if you're like, we're good with Jalen Carter or Will Anderson Jr., which that's a great situation to be in, and the Colts want to trade up and get that pick, or the Texans want to trade up and get that pick, or the Seahawks want to trade up and get that pick, you should trade that pick, because you're going to get one of Will Anderson Jr. or Jalen Carter if you trade with the Colts, if you trade with the Seahawks, if you trade with the Texans. The only team you have to worry about is who? The Cardinals, right? That's the only team in front of you. And if they pick Jalen Carter or Will Anderson Jr., all right, that means the other one's left. I just don't know where the Bears have Jalen Carter and Will Anderson Jr. On the board. That's the question to me. I don't think he was going to be the number one pick anyway, because I think it'd be stupid for the Bears to not get more equity for that fourth pick, for that fifth pick, when you can basically get the same guy or choose between the two guys you like. My biggest thing when it comes down to it is, does that push Will Anderson above Jalen Carter when it comes down to the Bears making that decision, or the Cardinals making that decision in the top 5 pick? Do they look at this? Do the Cardinals look at this and say, listen, we're already having to deal with some immaturity things with Kyler Murray. The last thing we want to do is go waste another top 5 pick on a guy that we're afraid is going to be immature, when you can go get Will Anderson Jr., who is the absolute epitome of maturity, right? Will Anderson Jr. is exactly the type of mature, hardworking, well-balanced employee that's versatile on the field, that can do multiple things. But speaking about versatile on the field, you got to be versatile off the field. Mm-hmm. And right now, if you don't download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you're not versatile right now. Your app is just mid and is really a one-trick pony. That's not it. Maybe a hell of a trick, but it's still a one-trick pony. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, because new customers can place $5 on any pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. That's only at DraftKings Sportsbook with our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. We got all access as well today at 11:30. Come check us out. But speaking about DraftKings Sportsbook, use Crane-Thagorean's theorem again last night. Hit 9 out of 10, 7 out of 8. The only one I didn't hit was Kentucky lost at home to Vanderbilt. So look, when it comes to Crane-Thagorean theorem, have hit 2 out of 5, which is pretty great when it comes to parlays, over $1,000. So I'm just going to keep
Crane-Thagorean theorem, baby. I missed that Kentucky pick too.
Well, you know what? If I'm going to miss one, then that's going to be the one. But make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Trying to get to 100,000, already hit 50,000. Blaine's hair grew back so quick. But what's going on in the Booster Club there, Blaine?
All right, let's go to Papa John. He usually does that. I'm scared
Delivery
that might not grow back one day. As a Dogs fan, he says, I'm a little concerned with the leadership at University of Georgia right now. Stetson gets arrested for public intox. You see this with Jalen Carter.
Well, okay. Well, both those players, are they part of the Georgia program anymore? No. Like, again, I'm not going to blame Kirby. I know it's right after it. I know Georgia's had guys arrested. I just watched LSU get somebody arrested. We all know about the Brandon Miller in Alabama situation. I'm sure something will happen in another school. You know, again, it's when you have this many athletes and this many high-profile people, everything that goes wrong is going to be blasted times 1,000. Now, I'm not saying this in the Jalen Carter situation, but the Stetson Bennett situation. I mean, Stetson Bennett's what, 33 years old? I mean, that man knows better. He's in his 9th year of college. I mean, him and Van Wilder went to school for the same amount of years. Georgia obviously doesn't have a leadership problem when it comes down to being able to do things. It takes a lot of leadership to win. It takes a lot of leadership to win back-to-back championships. I'm not going to blame Kirby for stuff that goes on after his player's tenure at Georgia, just like I'm not going to blame Kirby if Stetson Bennett gets a DUI when he's 45.
I almost think about it the opposite way, Blaine. When did Stetson Bennett and Jalen Carter get in trouble?
That's the thing.
When they were out from under the structure of Kirby Smart in the Georgia football program. That shows you how important that daily discipline is, going in every day to the building and doing your job, doing your work. The moment you become a champion and you're done with your college career, what happens? Then you go out and get in trouble. I remember distinctly, my senior year, we were trying so hard to win a state championship. We had lost the previous 2. And it was like, man, we have to break through and win one of these things. We can't lose 3 in a row. We won the state championship my senior year. And the next day, I remember I woke up and I thought, well, what now?
Yeah.
I literally thought, well, what now? I mean, and I was already going to play football in college. I was already committed to Michigan, but it was like, we don't have practice the next day. We don't have a film session because we've already won it. It's that daily grind and that daily discipline that I think kept those guys from getting in trouble.
But winning the routine, I mean, that's one of the reasons Saban is so great at what he does is, I mean, you create the structure, you create the blueprint, you stay within it, and you fall in love with the process or the grind or the routine or whatever tag you want to give it. That's the key. Because we tell our guys all the time, look, if you can be the same guy on Monday, same guy on Tuesday, same guy on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, guess what? Game time Saturday, you're going to be the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to show up, and you're going to be able to play, and you're going to be able to perform because that's what you've trained yourself to do over and over and over again at a very high level.
All right, let's go to DY's 188 with a $5 donation. Appreciate it. It says, good morning, fellas. Good morning to you,
What up?
sir. Couldn't make the anniversary stream yesterday, but wanted to say congrats on the year. And thank you. Hey, you calm down over there.
Thank you, David.
Coach Iowa. Let me give him people stare downs right here. Says, thank you for making sports fun again. DY's appreciate the donation, man.
DY's appreciate it, buddy.
Let's go to Chris E. with the $5 donation. He says, when top athletes make these poor decisions so close to the draft, does some responsibility fall on their coach, or does that end after they declare for the draft? I know we just talked.
I mean, look, I think it ends after you're under my wing. Like, again, you're no longer my responsibility, right? Like, it's not like your kid. Like, your kid is going to always be your responsibility, even if he's 50 years old, like it or not. I mean, these players, what is Kirby supposed to do? Like, what are you supposed to do? Just keep, all right, you're not playing this. It's not Sunday in the NFL, so I'm just going to keep you here in Athens. Yeah, you play in Cincinnati. Like, you can only control them and put them in the best position and have them learn so when they do go out to the NFL or they do go out to the real world, they are prepared. I do not blame Kirby Smart for this. I just don't. Hey, YouTube, appreciate you guys. Do us a favor. Go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button. Turn on that notification bell. We're always dropping content year long, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, Quidditch, underwater basket weaving, and that thing where you watch TV while you rub the balloon. We've got it covered.